Well, we started our trip about 11:08 this morning. Got to land between the lakes on the south end about 11:40. We took a drive down Pine Piney Campground. Um, I did some research about some experiences down there. Ran into multiple cemeteries. Didn't see really anything out of the ordinary going down that way. Then we continued um, up a road called they call the Trace. Beautiful scenery, and I noticed a what appeared to be a footprint. So my husband stopped the car, got out, took a picture of it. Could see very defined toes, and about a foot from it was another print that didn't resemble like a normal Bigfoot print. It had like claw marks in it, kind of narrow at the bottom, almost like a dog print, but a it would have to be a massive dog, bigger than a wolf print. It was just very massive. So I took some pictures of that. Then we continued on, stopped at one graveyard that I had watched videos on, researched, and it was very eerie, very creepy, very quiet. Not a tree moving with the wind, not a bird. Heard a couple of frogs. That's about it. And it felt weird. So got back in the Jeep and we drove about 5, 6 miles on up the road. And there was another cemetery that we stopped at. We noticed there was a name Andrew Jackson Smith. So beside the marker, there was a road, dirt road. We went up the dirt road about a quarter mile, and to the left there was another graveyard. We stopped there. I noticed a tree that had looked like it had been scratched by something. Don't know if it was a deer sharpening his antlers, bear sharpening its paws, if just the weather had got to the tree. I've never seen weather get to a tree like that. And there was also a print in that tree that looked like something kind of just dug its claws in and it was kind of ripping back on the tree. Very odd to me. Never seen anything like that. And I've hunted since I was a little girl. Never seen a tree like that. So I continued filming around the graveyard. There was a lot of military built buried there. Old military, Civil War, World War I, World War II. And I noticed something moved in the woods, but those woods are so dense and very deceiving that you think you saw something, and when you go to look back to double check, it's gone. So I stopped filming, and my daughter said, "Mom, there's something interesting over here. Come check this out." So I walked with her, and I got halfway into the graveyard, and I'm shaking telling you this. That's how terrified this made me. Halfway through the graveyard, I get the hardest like burst of air to my ear, my left ear. And it was like something was saying my name because my actual name is Patricia, but it's like they accented the P. They were like very very powerful blow to my ear. Um to where my ear is still clogged. I've not been able to get my ear unclogged. I can't hear out of my ear. It is red, and I it's at this side of my face, and this ear is actually hurting me right now. The pain started about an hour afterwards, um, and I just felt there was chills up my spine when this happened, and it's like I felt like my heart just stopped at that moment because for years, my entire life actually, I've been into conspiracy theories. I've been into the unknown. I've been into ghosts. Like I used to go hunt ghosts and everything. But I never had something like that happen to me. I ran to my husband. I told my daughter to run as fast as she could to get into the Jeep. And I ran to my husband. I said, something just blew in my ear. It was very loud. It was very powerful. It hurt. I said, I don't know what it was. There was nothing behind me when I turned around, but I felt something behind me. I felt something very powerful behind me. Um, I ran to my Jeep. I said, I'm done. I want to go home. I ain't never been scared of anything, especially not the woods. That made me want to go home. That made me want to do 120 out of that park and not care if I got pulled over. I was getting home. And it was weird because, like, the area was very quiet. There wasn't even a frog. There wasn't a cricket. There were no birds. There was no nothing. There was an odor, but there was nothing else. It was just everything was still. And I don't know what it was, but something hurt me. Something didn't like me being there, and I'm terrified. I was just telling my husband, I don't even want to go to sleep tonight. I'm glad that it I experienced it and not my daughter. That would traumatize a kid. And this was just going to be a normal family joyride, just to look at the terrain of the forest, because me and Mike are going in a couple weeks to do our own little investigation. And I just learning about this Dogman stuff, it's had me on my toes. It's had me scared. All these stories has had me scared. And I wanted just to go and just look around and just so I felt comfortable with the area. But I didn't get that. I got the opposite. I got terror. I'm absolutely horrified by what happened, and I don't even know how else to explain it. Like, it's almost unexplainable. I just know something physically hurt me in that graveyard. The graveyard's name was Mount Pleasant Cemetery, and I'd say there's probably about 40, 40 to 50 graves, old graves, all dated back into the 1800s. There was a couple 1900s. Some of them were didn't even look like graves. They just looked like somebody just put a rock there. And the one gravesite that I was by when this happened was just that. It didn't say anything. It was just like a rock that somebody had just put there. And I'm scared. I'm very scared. I haven't stopped shaking. I'm nauseous. I don't even want to eat. My head hurts. My ear is red. It's clogged. I can't hear out of it. My face was red. Yeah, it was. It is. I tried to cover it up with a little bit of makeup. Um, but I know my blood pressure's up. I know. And my husband just looked at me and he probably thinks I'm crazy, but he could see the fear in my eyes. That he rushed to get the Jeep started so we can get out of there. My son stayed in the car. I took my German Shepherd with me, and he's really good at picking up scents on things. He senses a lot, and he can smell tracks really well. And he didn't whimper or anything. My son, he didn't witness anything, um, which I'm kind of thankful for that. But my daughter knew when I ran the way that I did, something was wrong. My chest got tight, and I knew something was there. Something was there. I just didn't see it, but something was there. I felt it, just didn't see it. And across from this graveyard, there's another road that leads to a path, and that road is closed. There's no sign that says why it's closed. It's just blocked off. It's locked with like a red and white striped sign on it. That's it. We also noticed that a lot of law enforcement and park rangers were standing. Well, there was one area that had a barricade at the road, and it was blocked off. They wouldn't let nobody up in there. And that wasn't far from the cemetery. So I don't know if it relates. Could be a coincidence. I'm not sure. But all I know is this changed my life. This has horrified me. I don't think it's something that I'll ever get past, but it's something that I want to know what is there. What tried to harm me? What did harm me? I want to know. Like, I want to find answers to this. And it could be several things. Um, there's a lot of history behind Land Between the Lakes with the Native Americans and the French Army and being flooded by our government. There's a lot of horrific history behind that land. And it's made me a firm believer that it's cursed. And there is something, whether it's a ghost from somebody that's passed away and buried there, whether it's a Bigfoot, whether it's a Dogman, whatever. We don't know what is in that park, but there's something, and I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's multiple, and I want to know what, and I want answers. And I could tell this story to people around here. They're not gonna believe me, but that's fine. They don't have to believe me because the only one that needs to believe is myself. I witnessed it. I experienced it. I was hurt by it, and it's something that for a while I'm probably going to live with nightmares about. But I'm going to find an answer to what's in there. It's my goal. But it's a beautiful park. Um, just a lot of bad history and a lot of cover ups. And I know I just don't even know what to say. I'm so shaken up by it. Like there's friendly ghosts and then there's ghosts, that try to harm you, but then there's also, demonic entities and stuff like that. And I don't know what it was, but I know after it happened, about an hour later, when I started getting the pain and the redness in my ear, I've never felt so raged and mad. I got into it with my daughter, and I've never been like that mad and angry. I couldn't stand the sight of anybody. I was telling everybody, just get away from me and yelling, and I didn't feel like myself. I'm a very civil person. I'm a very calm person. I was not calm. I was not civil. I was to a level of anger that I have never experienced. I don't know if that has to do with what happened or not, but I just find it very weird that after all this happened, I'm hurting in my ear, and my head, it's red. I know my blood pressure's up, and then the level of madness that I got to, I don't know how to explain that other than whatever touched me put their energy inside me, and I don't want it. I don't want it. And would I go back there? Yeah, I would go back there because I want to know what it is. Yeah, my daughter's about 5'2", about 90, 91 pounds, something like that. And it sounded like she was probably a 200-pound man, to be honest. That's how loud it was. She was walking behind me, and it sounded like a grown man walking behind me. And it scared me so bad that I jumped, and it scared her. And then I scared her. And it's because everything just at that moment just sounded louder. My husband, he's 6'2", about 220 pounds, and you would have thought a Bigfoot was walking. It was so loud. Like it kind of rattled you. Like it felt like the ground was kind of shaking and everything was louder. Um, and I don't even know how to explain that other than what I just said. Like everything was super sensitive as far as the sound. Um, it did. I mean, she stepped on a stick and it sounded like she broke a thick log in half. That's how loud it was. And my first instinct was, whatever touched me is here. Like it's behind me. And then when I jumped into my Jeep, and my Jeep, it's not easy to jump into. It's 3-inch lift, and I'm only four. Yeah, it's named Sasquatch, and
Mhm.
I'm only 4'11", so it's difficult for me to get up in it. And I got in it really quick when I heard her walking up behind me and didn't even know it was her. Like I said, I thought it was a grown man walking up behind me. So I jumped and I screamed, and then she screamed because my reaction scared her. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought you were something else. You just kind of walked up on me like a grown man. It sounded like it. But it definitely was an experience that I'll never forget. And I've had some experiences, but that nothing like that. Nothing like that. Yeah. So when we came out of Piney, I could be wrong on the name. I know it's Piney something. Pine Campground, Piney Campground. I'm bad with names. I apologize for that. When we went in on that road to that campground, me and my daughter noticed that we kept seeing a shadow. And the way it was appearing on the bank, we knew it was a bird. Okay, a big bird. I'm talking like an eagle or a falcon, something like that. This bird followed us the whole way to that campground. And my daughter swears it didn't follow us out, but I saw it. It followed us out. So it followed us in and it followed us out. When we would stop to look, it would stop. When we'd start going, it would start going. I've never seen a bird do that ever. Um, I also noticed, and I meant to mention this to you on the phone, but there was a lot of, I don't even know the names of those birds that they pick up like animal carcasses and stuff. Vultures. A lot of vultures. They were just in like a random area deep into the woods. You could see them circulating deep into the woods in the sky, like something was dead there. There was no road, no paths to get to where they were at. And that's wild. Which here in we're at Fort Campbell, and here we get a lot of that, but it's usually something on the road, not out in the middle of nowhere. So it was kind of unusual for us to see it like way back in the woods, circling like a deep section, deep holler in the woods with no access to get to that area. So that was kind of weird, very strange for me. There was a second there that I don't know if my eyes were playing tricks on me or not, because I've been doing a lot of research on this Dogman stuff and just preparing myself and for what we could see or what we might not see. I want to go in with I want to be prepared. I don't want any surprises. And I had read a story about a dog man that was chasing a truck, and this truck was going about 65 miles per hour, and that dog man kept up with that truck. Was right on its tail, right on its tail. So, driving down that road to that campground, I kept leaning over, looking in my side mirror, just to see if anything was behind us. And there was one time that I saw something. Again, I don't know if my eyes were playing tricks. I don't think they were, because I was very calm, very calm. Wasn't scared at that time. And I looked back, and there was something standing up, like peeking through the tall, like grass. 'Cause there's very tall grass. It was just peeking through it. So I turned forward, and I was like, "Ain't no way, ain't no way." I'm kind of a chicken when it comes to this Dogman thing. I won't be though. And I turned and I looked again, take a double take, and I saw it again. And then I turned and looked again, and it was gone. But I couldn't make out any facial features. I couldn't make out if it had a snout. I couldn't make out if it had ears. I just know it was black and rather tall. Um, the park was full of people today. Like there was a lot of tourism in there today. A lot of tourists. Um, for a second, I'm like, well, maybe it's because I think it's squirrel season right now. Maybe it's a hunter. Then I got to thinking, I've hunted before. I've never seen a hunter dressed in all black. That's kind of dangerous. No, I don't think that is. I was just trying to tell myself, ain't no way. What is the odds that mm, I'm taking like a little family drive to explore just a little bit? And I've been researching this and talking about it with my dad. And I go in there the first time I've ever been in this area and see a dog man. Like the odds of that slim and none. But I also can't help what I saw. But like I said, I can't verify for sure if it had ears, if it had a snout, exactly how tall it was. It appeared to be tall, but I also was probably about a football field length from it. So I don't know. I don't know, but it was definitely an experience today. One that I'll never forget. I know in a couple weeks probably have another one, but I'll be better prepared for this next one. Um, I'm just gonna say my prayers and go in and full send and find some evidence of things because there's something in there, and I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's multiple things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I recommend that. After today, I recommend that. Mm.
Yes, she is. In my opinion, I've got before I speak my opinion. Now the extra sensitive sensations, to sound and this, that, and the other. Did that happen before you seen something other at the edge of the graveyard or after?
It happened after. Well,
Okay, that that
no,
uh,
no,
that
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It happened before. It happened before. I saw the movement before, and then that's when my daughter asked me or said she found something interesting, and I followed her to it. And then the incident with the ear happened. And then things after it was touched, that's when things got very
this
weird.
is just my opinion. Uh, I've had so before I got into I'm just going to be blunt about everything. Before I got into hunting boogers and monsters and things that supposedly do not exist, which yet still does, I got my start in paranormal investigations. I was a paranormal investigator for many a years since 2007, and in 2012 was when I started doing the Bigfoot investigations and everything. But when I was doing the paranormal, I had a friend of mine, which was she's long past now. She was a she was half Sioux and half Blackfoot medicine woman, and she told me to sort of expect things like that, like what happened to you. And I said, well, what's up with it? She said, you're being protected by somebody. They're trying to warn you something's fixing to happen. In my opinion, if that hadn't happened when it did, whatever that you saw at the end of that graveyard could very well have been a dog man. And if that be the case, if he was circling like a shark, he was waiting for the right time to strike. Because basically that's what they do is they'll circle just like a shark. Prime
Mm.
example: myself, George, and Tim of NCI. This was back in April of this year. We were over in Franklin, North Carolina. On we was checking some cameras that we put out. We was going to put out some more cameras and everything, and we got up there in the woods. And I mean, the woods sort of felt a little down, eerie, like something other wasn't exactly right. To make a long story short, we kept smelling something other that we knew good and well was not Bigfoot. This had a metallic blood type smell. It'd catch on the breeze every great now and then. And I mean, it would just circle just like a shark all day long. Now, here was the weird part. Well, Jerry Millwood was with us. I'm sorry, I left Jerry out. Jerry, if you're watching, I apologize, buddy. But George, George and Tim basically took a bath in deep woods off to keep the flies and mosquitoes and the no-see-ums and stuff like that off. Well, Jerry and I elected not to do that. We were in the woods. It didn't make any difference how much of that deep woods off that Tim and George put on. The black flies were about to carry us off. And I'm talking flies about the size of your thumbnail. Solid jet black, kind of like what you'd find on something other dead, like a dead deer or a dead possum or a dead raccoon or something like that. But after we reached a certain point, the flies came in, and it wasn't 10 minutes after that, we got smelling that old stench. And after we done what we needed to do and came back, we also found 3 Dogman prints, as well as we found 4 or 5 juvenile Bigfoot prints. So we came to the conclusion that either A, the Dogmen were being used as guard dogs to guard the juvenile Bigfoot, or B, the dogman had come in to steal the juvenile Bigfoot and eat them. That was only two conclusions we could come up with. We never got hardcore evidence, of either one because we couldn't find no hair samples at that time and we couldn't find no blood either that we could use to, verify what we came to the conclusion of. Excuse me. But when we came back to that one particular area, the flies dissipated.
Hmm.
And the whole entire time we were in there, you had the awfulest feeling you was being watched. We ran into one individual, and be brutally honest, this guy, he his nerves was shot. In other words, he was vibrating so bad on his nerves that he could have threaded a sewing machine while it was running. He said probably 16 words to us, and down the trail he went, and he vanished in the woods. We thought, where's he going? Because he followed the same path that we did. And where we was parked, there wasn't no vehicle or anything. We don't know where this individual went. Only thing we got out of him at the time, he was digging wild ramps in the woods. And for those who don't know what wild ramps is, it's kind of like a cross between an onion and a leek. And they only come up in the spring of the year and they stay around for a couple of weeks, then they die back off. They're real good eating. Mountain peoples have eaten them for years. And oh yeah, I've eaten my share of them too. I mean, you can fix. I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole culinary show on this, but you can eat them raw, or you can cook them with eggs or onions, or whatever you want to cook them with. And they're real good, even with soup, beans, and cornbread, and a big old tomato. But here's the thing: if somebody's got a backpack full of rounds, you can smell them at 30 yards easy.
Yeah.
We never smelled any rounds, period. So it's all standing there scratching her head trying to figure out what's this cat doing? Where's he been? And his tennis shoes looked like he just had bought them off the shelf at the shoe show. There wasn't a speck of dirt on his shoes or anything. We don't know where this guy came from, who he was. He wouldn't disclose nothing. He just said, "What are you boys doing?" I said, "We're just up here just hiking around just for the fun of it." He said, "Well, I'm digging ramps. If you want to know where a good ramp patch is at," he said, "it's up yonder." He said, "About 60 more yards." Okay, thank you. And buddy, he was gone. But the whole entire time, I mean, other than that individual, and we found those dogman prints, it was just exactly like something other was circling us the whole entire time, just like a shark. So, only thing I can figure out is some other in that graveyard. Evidently, I'm trying to be not trying to be nice about it, trying to settle your nerves. I'm not feeling you full of sunshine. I'm just telling you, what I've experienced and run across before in the past. I think something other told you to be careful. And that's what they was meaning, because if that's what you was seeing at the far end of that graveyard out there in the woods, it very well have been a dog man. Because you remember in 1982, there's a family of four got massacred in the LBL, and they found that little old girl about what was it, Mike? About 30 feet up in a tree.
Yeah.
A story. Yeah, and
Oh,
evidently something other didn't want that to happen to you. So I'd say it's probably what happened.
no, leave go.
No,
No, it is open. I
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the million dollar question on the whole shooting match of the LBL. Number one, nobody probably is not going to officially know the whole true story on anything. But if there's not any truth in some of the stories that's come out of there, some of the attacks, some of the encounters, and sightings, and first one thing and another, what are they hiding? Why are they restricting walking privileges in certain areas if there's nothing to it? That's just like I've talked to a few U.S. Forest Service rangers and personnel here in western North Carolina. I've mentioned cave systems and mentioned Bigfoot to them, and they'll tell you one story until one or two certain members of the Forest Service walks off. Then they'll turn right around and look at you and go, "We know what you're looking for. You best be careful." Now, if there wasn't anything to it, and it was all, figments of people's imagination, a big, elaborate hoax, and first one thing that, what are they hiding? If there's nothing there, why should they be, secret squirrel and hush hush on everything? I mean, common sense logic, it doesn't add up. Oh, cool. Hmm. No, you have no idea what you're going to run into when, even in the daytime. My group, NCI, everybody asked us, said, "Why do y'all always go in the daytime?" Well, it's not that we're afraid of the dark. I don't like going into anywhere blind. I want to know what I'm getting into, want to know the area. And if something other was to happen to go sour and you needed to retreat for some odd reason or another, you need to know which way to run. Because if you go into an area that you're just completely teetotally ignorant of, you've got rock cliffs in places, you've got rattlesnake dens in places, depending on what type of the year you got, and anything can happen and go wrong. And you running through the woods, if your light goes out or whatever else, trying to, retreat and backtrack away from danger. In the daytime, you can see a lot more. You can get a lot more evidence, and you got a better grasp of what's going on. Absolutely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it doesn't pay to yeah, it doesn't pay to go in there, empty-handed on anything, because you never know what you're going to run into on any investigation that you go on to, any expedition, daytime or nighttime. You could run into a pack of coyotes. You could run into, you get accidentally get between a mama bear and her cubs. You don't never know. And plus, on top of that, certain areas, as bad as I hate to say it, you are going to run into some homeless people, and some of them that's strung out on dope, and then you're going to run into feral people. And a lot of people think, well, there's no way in the world feral people can still exist. Yes, indeed, feral people still do exist out here in these woods. People don't go back in the woods like they used to. But back years ago, talking to your grandparents, the first one thing the other. Back then, in order to feed your family and everything through the wintertime, they went and stayed in the woods for like about a month, month and a half. They'd come back with deer, they'd come back with squirrels, they'd come back with raccoons, they'd come back with bear, you know, just about anything that the environment on the location of where they lived offered. That's what they came back with, and that's what they survived on through all these harsh winters and everything. These guys today, they don't go back that far anymore. Nobody knows exactly what's out there. There's still land if I mean, you can get up on the Blue Ridge Parkway. I live right next to it, within about 2 miles from my house, and you can get up on some of these overlooks and look off in places where there's no houses, and there's places in there. If something other wanted to hide for years upon end, and for decades for that matter, and never be seen, never be know anything about, they could. I mean, using Eric Rudolph as example. Granted, we all know what Eric Rudolph did, but just using him for example, there at the last, I'm pretty well sure somebody was helping him. But he stayed what 36 months out there in the woods, and the FBI couldn't get a hold of him, couldn't find him, didn't know which way to look or anything else. Now you take one man that can do that, and I mean he's modern day man. Think of what a creature that's been raised in the woods all of its life knows the smell of every leaf, every tree, knows what's natural and knows what's foreign. You're not going to fool it. Exactly. Right. Right. Hmm. Good question. Oh yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Right.
She said, depending on the mood of the ranger or the law enforcement officer, because she said that Land Between the Lakes has their own like law enforcement, that you could be fined or arrested on the spot. Um, on the
Hmm.
cemetery thing, there's a lot of cemeteries you can get to, but there's also some that they're not. There's no signage for them. Like the ones I went to today, they were out in the obvious. Well, except for the one that happened to me at, but there was a sign that said, "Hey, this cemetery, this way." But I also saw some that you had to be really looking deep into the woods to see them. No way to really get to them unless you walk up like a bankside and up the hill to get to it. And then you go a little bit down the road, there's a road that could possibly lead to that cemetery closed. The lady also told me that there's only one road in the park that's closed. And she can't remember the name of it. But she kind of showed me on the map. That's not true. I saw at least a dozen of roads closed off that you couldn't get to. Um, so well, like you said, like why are they covering things up? I today before we entered the park, we stopped to get all of us something to drink, and I asked her, I was like, hey, we're new to the area. How far is Land Between the Lakes from here? And she's like, oh, about 10, 15 minutes. Okay. And I said, yeah, me and my dad are planning on hiking up there in a couple weeks, and I just want to go see what, we're up against, the terrain. And she's like, oh, it's beautiful. I highly recommend you drive the trace, which is the run that or runs north to south or south to north, however you want to take it. We did south to north today, and majority of what I saw was in the north end. Um, well, yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. But I said to her, I was like, yeah, um, we're new to the area. I've been researching about the history about it. It's kind of sad, very sad actually. And she looked at my son. She goes, are these your mints? And I was like, no, they're mine. I said, a lot of the research I've been doing has kind of scared me a little bit, and I'm nervous in my stomach, and mints help. And she goes, the history. And then she just kind of jerked her head. She goes, well, have a nice day. She knew what I was talking about. She shut it down very quick, very quick. And I've read stories, people speaking up saying that they've went around asking natives to the area, stories about what's happened there, if they've had any experience, and everybody gets so defensive, like they're ready to fight you on it. They make you leave. Even the park rangers, they want to like threaten you over it, and it's just weird. We deserve that transparency. We deserve to know if we're out vacationing in this park, we ought to know what's in there so we know how to protect ourselves. Or how to, yeah, and listening to exactly, and listening to
Mhm.
what Rob said about how, that was kind of a sign, like somebody was there protecting me because it could have been circling me as a shark. Like it makes me really grateful and blessed that whatever it was protecting me was there. Yeah, it hurt me, but if that's the case, I'm thankful and grateful and blessed that it actually happened to protect me. And while you were talking about that, I heard you mention something about a smell. And when we went through, and I probably should have said this earlier, but my mind is like in 100 different directions right now because of all of this. Um, when we drove up the road to Piney Creek, about halfway, I'd say probably about 5 miles up on that road, we got a bad odor. I mean, it just overtook the car. I had my German Shepherd with me. My kids kept saying, "Oh, it's his breath." Like, listen, I know he's got dog breath, but it's not that bad. He chews dental bones. I put stuff in his water for his teeth. It's never not like this. This had a metallic smell to it. It was like a metallic with like a septic smell, like sewage.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, let's just test this theory out. I rolled up the windows, drove up the road a little bit, kind of disappeared. But at that graveyard that was on that other end, the north end, because the pine campground is in the south, but that graveyard I was at was in the north, and that same smell was in that graveyard. My dog wasn't outside for that; it was in the Jeep. So
Told you.
I was going to ask you if it was like a metallic with like a sewage smell.
Water
Um,
smells like dried blood mixed with something other dead.
yeah, dry blood with like a copper smell. I mean, it made me nauseous. It made me
Yep.
very nauseous. Um, and I just want to say thank you for, sharing that with me. But that's also still a scary thought to know that.
Oh yeah.
And it's weird because it was a family of four of us in that Jeep,
Hmm.
two kids, two adults, and a dog, but family of four. And I just wondered, did this thing follow me from the south to the north? Is it true
It's
that, I
possible.
mean, because some people say, I've read certain things that some people think they portal, and I don't know what to believe on that. I'm going to need to read more into that. Is that the case? Or is there more than one and they've communicated?
Oh, there.
Smoke, yeah, smoke
Oh, there's
signal.
several Dogmen and Bigfoot both in the LBL from the reports I've been reading. I've never been there myself. If things goes as planned, we're going to be with Relic Films at Greg Ogles in no, first week of November up there in the LBL, and it's going to be quite interesting. I think we're going to do some good up there and get some good evidence, and we're going to hit everything up there with everything in the world that we've possibly got. We're going to take every stick of equipment we got. I've got some 360 cameras that shoots. If I can get cell phone signal, they'll shoot straight back to my phone.
Well, I
And
can tell you
I
there's
think,
no cell phone service. There's none.
yeah, that's what I've been told that there's, it's basically cell phone hell up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Greg's going to take Starlink, and if I can get one camera to ping back, I might be able to get those other cameras to ping into that one and transfer the uh, transfer the signal over to my phone. I don't know how well that's going to work, but we're going to try it and see. And Tim's going to bring his thermal, and we're just going to set up a perimeter and basically try to get something other to come to us instead of us going to it.
Ye- Yeah.
Technically
And
speaking,
they're getting ready to shut down more roads too. They're getting ready to do um I know you watched that documentary that I watched, and as soon as that guy mentioned government, those blacked out Black Hawks uh flew straight over him.
MIB,
There was black Chinooks today flying over. Black Chinooks.
MIB.
Okay.
If they wasn't hiding something other, why? That
And they're
is the
getting ready
million
to shut
dollar
it down.
question: is why?
The roads are going to be shut down September something. September 26th to October 2nd. So when you get here, those roads are just going to be reopened.
Exactly. No.
And it's
Well, it's
but the
sort of.
way
Hmm. Exactly. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Oh yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Well, the thing of it is with what you just said about those about them blending into their environment. To give everybody a prime example, you know, I'm sure both of you has been in the woods and deer hunted ever since you was big enough to for your daddy to let you go in the woods by yourself hunting, or or he went with you. If the light conditions are just right, a black bear, if he does not move, will stand there next to a laurel bush in the right light conditions. Because I've had this happen myself, and I've even had a 6 point buck vanish right in front of me because I took my eyes off of him to readjust the gun to my shoulder to see if I could get a better shot than what he was presenting. I've had a black bear, also, like I said, a 6 point buck. I mean, broad open, vanish before my very eyes due to the light, and he didn't move. He just blended in with his background, and I was like, "Where did they go?" Then, if you kept watching in that same area and didn't take your eye off of it, eventually curiosity is going to get the better of that creature, and it's going to move. And when that bear moved, and when that 6 point buck moved, I said, "Oh, there you went, you little devil! You hid on me." So if they can do that, good and well, Bigfoot or Dogman, either one can do the same darn thing because they've got nothing better than time on their hands. They have nowhere else to daggum go. They're just going to sit there and wait on you because human nature is going to tell you you're going to eventually move. You're going to give up. You're going to go home or whatever the case may be. Or if it gets too dark to see, they know you're going to leave. They know you're not going to sit there all night in one single solitary spot. Now, I'm sorry. On another hand, I have seen trout in a stream hide, and you know him good and well. They couldn't go downstream and they couldn't go upstream. You take your eye off of it, they blended in with the bottom until they chased the fly, the spinner, or the worm. You didn't know they was there. Hmm. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yep. Oh yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah. Exactly. Yep,
What happened to me? So,
I do. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Right. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Right. Mhm. Right. Right. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm the same way. If I've got enough light that I can, make out what I'm shooting at, I'll stay till that light and that scope gets gone. Where, yeah. Hmm. Yep. Oh, anybody would. Hmm. No, no, no. Right. Hmm. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Let him have it and go. Mhm. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Right, exactly. Right, right. Me either. Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yes, it is. Mhm. Ooh. Oh, yeah. I know I would. Yeah. Wow. Mm. Man, wow. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Mm. Yeah. Mhm. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Something like that. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. Right. Mhm. 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 Yep. Mhm. Mhm. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Mhm. I'd say he probably did. Mhm. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Oh, yeah, and plus on top of that, in my opinion, if, unless it's, they're extremely touchy on everything, in my opinion, if you've got a drone in the air, you personally are not trespassing. The drone is. And drone, right. Yeah, yeah, you got a problem. But I mean, if you want to put the drone in a human perspective, drone's not trespassing because it can't.
I
Oh yeah.
actually I need to check that whole airspace thing because that Southgate, it's pretty close to um one of the Fort Campbell airfields here. Because Fort Campbell it's just so big, they have multiple airfields. So I will get on that and check. Um,
Hmm. No,
okay.
if you're flying at chest high, they can't say nothing.
I was just gonna double check just to make just to make sure, because I wanna do this, but I wanna not get arrested.
I'll see if I've got bail money.
My husband's military, I can get arrested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just say just say it's a UFO.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Hmm. Exactly. Well, same way with the Billy ape. They thought they were extinct too till they discovered them 15 years ago. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Don't get me started on that. Exactly. Hmm. Yep. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Exactly. Sounds possible to me. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That would be the dream.
Well, I'll tell you something other else too on the flip side of the coin. They claim that megalodon has been extinct for, I don't go into this 640 million year theory and all this other bunch of nonsense that a lot of them are spewing. But if that creature has been extinct, why are we still finding intact teeth that's being washed up on the beaches, as violent as our oceans are and as dangerous as the underwater environment is between the coral and everything else? Shouldn't those teeth either be A, embedded in coral that's being found, or B, ground into dust as violent as our oceans are? Why are these teeth still, 6 inches wide by, ever how many inches long they are? They're sort of, blackened a little bit, but they still have the core DNA in them. Why are we still finding those if that creature is supposed to be extinct? Shouldn't we be finding, minute fragments and guessing that's what it is? Or find it, embedded in coral where it's lodged over time, like the supposed dinosaur bones that's being found in Utah, Grand Canyon, Australia, and, the Congo and all these other places. Those have been, placed by nature and sort of been preserved to a point. These teeth that's floating around, they're not being preserved. They're at the mercy of the ocean, and any sailor or scuba diver will tell you that environment can change at the flick of a switch. Unannounced and no warning. So why are we still finding these teeth? Because we're finding great white teeth, bull shark teeth and these other species out here that are, as perfect as the megalodon's teeth are, that's supposed to be extinct, but yet you find a shark and you can look at it and go, well, that shark lost that tooth about 2 weeks ago. Well, in 2 weeks' time, that tooth ought to have some damage on it. It just doesn't make sense. Hmm. No. I mean, no, and furthermore, everybody goes to saying, well, you got to trust the science. Well, not trying to get a fight sparked or anything for that matter. We've seen what science did and how people reacted during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And right, all right. Well, you take the trust the science crew. If anything goes against the monetized science, they're not going to listen to that because it's going to interfere and disrupt with every bit of that dollar sign that's a coming in to that one certain area. And these scientists today, I mean, don't get me wrong, science is real. Science needs to, it's on a daily basis and everything else. But when you go to paying somebody to tell you what you want to hear and become an instant Bill Nye, Bill Clinton, if you catch my drift, tell you what you want to hear and getting paid to do it, there's not a bit more truth in it than Man on the Confounded Moon. Because if you want to trust science, the only way you can trust science, you have to question science in order to find the answer. It's science is not always black and white. It's not what you think. Take for instance, there for a little bit, there's a huge blow up over it when they had those aliens in that mall down there in Florida. Well, everything all of a sudden just daggum hushed. Well, if there's any truth behind it, why are people not still talking about it? It's just a forbidden subject now. It's like, oh, no, you ain't supposed to talk about stuff like that. Well, really? Why not? Right. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Yep. Hmm.
Screaming eagles. Yeah.
Wow, we have it. Exactly.
Mm, yeah.
Exactly.